everyone, and thank you very much for participating in this new and different style of teaching. I appreciate your willingness to try something new. What I'm doing right now, this lecture via video, is a new teaching method, tool, that is kind of all the rage that people are talking about, where it's called the flipped classroom, where you get your knowledge, your basic content at home via a lecture. And you produce some sort of writing with it, you do an online quiz, which is what hopefully I'm going to be having you guys do, and then when you come into class, we are able to focus in class on doing higher order readings, working with primary sources, doing activities, being able to go deeper with the content as opposed to having to give the content in class. So I wanted to give it a try, and I wanted to see what you guys thought, and this will actually be one of the questions that I ask you on the evaluation at the end of the enrichment project as a whole. So again, I appreciate your willingness to bear with me in something new and different. All right. Hopefully, as I record this on Saturday night, on Monday we were actually able to get through where we were able to talk a little bit about the Iron Curtain and a little bit about containment as a whole. But if not, you guys have done the reading, so I'm sure you'll be able to follow this one way or another. So, as you know, the Cold War was a political, economic, and military rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union that lasted nearly 50 years and truly shaped the latter half of the 20th century, and indeed is, played a powerful role in establishing the relationships that we have today with countries around the world. So it's a very, very important time period in our history. You guys are well aware that this was this rivalry was really a battle between democratic capitalism on one side in the West and communism in the East. And so as we begin, we're going to start with the Iron Curtain, which was a term that was coined by Winston Churchill in a speech that he gave in 1946. In March of 1946, and that's actually a little after Kennan had already written his long telegram, which I'll talk about in a minute. But this term Iron Curtain, which will become it's a metaphor for the divide between Western Europe and the Soviet bloc, and it will become a term that is widely used throughout the world. And it's an important aspect of the beginning of the Cold War, because it really symbolizes this idea that there is a distinct divide between the two. And, it kind of leaves open that question of what we're going to do about it. Winston Churchill at the time felt very strongly about it. It's interesting because Churchill had, in 1945, he had not been reelected as Prime Minister of Great Britain, and therefore this is a time period. He's giving the speech in Fulton, Missouri, as he's accepting an honorary degree from Westminster College, but he wasn't in office at the time. And so, as with anything, you've got to look at the context. So there might have been some bitterness there. It's hard to tell. But really, this speech is meant to kind of rile people up a little bit, and and really make that point that this is something that we should be afraid of. And by the way, Churchill will come back into office in 1951. He will be reelected to Parliament, but at this point, he's not in Parliament. Stalin calls this speech a call to war. Churchill is really riling people up, but in fact, a lot of people didn't even pay attention. A lot of people really kind of disregarded Churchill's thought process at this time. They thought he was kind of being an alarmist. And so it takes a little while for that kind of the ball to get rolling, and for that real fear of communism and the spread of communism to become a major concern in our country and around the world. ensure that the Soviet Union did not gain more and more influence. And so he writes a 5,300 word telegram called the Long Telegram.
It's so good.
But he writes this telegram where he clearly spells out in detail the concerns that he has over the Soviets, and he talks about the philosophy that is viewed in Soviet Union. Okay, so what their view of the Western world is, and then he talks about the concerns that he has.
Put the flash drive someplace no one is ever going to find it.
And he writes a speech in 1946. However, it's published in 1947. That's when it comes to light. Aware of it. And it's this view that will become the foundation for the Truman Doctrine, and ultimately the foundation for U.S. foreign policy. Okay, all right. How do you like my candles? I thought we might need a little bit of mood lighting. Fortunately, my back one back there is glowing, but you can't see it. Anyway, all right, we move on. Containment, okay, the foundation of what we're going to be dealing with for the next several weeks. So let's take a moment and look at it. The father of containment was a man by the name of George Kennan. George Kennan was an American diplomat who had been a and not just in this enrichment program, of course, but also today. And so it's important that we look at it. The question is, was the policy of containment the right foreign policy tool for America to adopt? Two, and it's interesting in the discussion board, you guys were pretty adamant that yes, it was the right thing for us to do, and probably rightfully so. If you look back, I mean, of course, the Soviet Union was a great threat. However, that comes at a very high price. And so as we're looking at the debate and
of them all.
that the Western countries, those that are not part of the Eastern Bloc, that are not behind the Iron Curtain, we have more obligation to ensure that they are able to remain free, democratic, capitalist countries. And that's, that's important. It's that's one of those ideas that has kind of spurred the U.S. on in much of what it's done in the last half of the 20th century and on today. And it's a question for debate because I'm sure, we could have a lovely Okay. Containment, right? Right now, I think it's important that we take a moment and just, again, relook at what our essential question is for the unit. This is the question that we're going to be dealing with from now through the end of May. And not just in this enrichment program, of course, but also in the debate. So it's important that we look at it. The question is, was the policy of containment the right foreign policy for America to adopt after World War II? And it's interesting, in the discussion board, you guys were, pretty adamant that, yes, it was the right thing for us to do. And, probably rightfully so, if you look back. I mean, it works, and the Soviet Union is no longer a threat. However, that comes at a very high price. And so as we're looking at the debate and we're looking at our topics, you could argue that, was it worth the deaths that would occur? Was there another way? I don't know. That's for you guys to decide. However, right now I think it's important that we take a look at the situation